Make sure y'all stay on point with
The Puncher's Point.
Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. This is the second day in a row that we got an interview. Now, last time it was an MMA fighter, but this time we're back in our element with a boxer. We're talking about a guy who is 16-5, who is the WBA NABA welterweight champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Tresean Wiggins. Tresean, appreciate you coming on the podcast for me, bro.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Glad to be here. What's good with you?
So before we get into this interview, I want to ask you, first of all, how are you feeling physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all that? How are you feeling?
I mean, physically, I'm ready to go, man. I train on here when I'm not in training camp, so I'm always ready. Mentally, I'm ready to go too, man. I just want to get back in the ring. I've been out for like 14 months, bro. So going on 14 months. So I want to get in there, shake this rust off, and get back to business, man.
For sure. I got a question about that a little bit later on. But before we get into that, I do want to ask you, as we are approaching or coming into 2025, what are some goals as far as inside boxing that you plan on setting for the year and you plan on accomplishing?
Actually, man, when slow time goal, I want to try to reach top five, in the WBA, preferably the world title eliminator or interim world title. One or the other, man. I mean, I'm rightfully so. I deserve it, man. I've been putting in the work. Everybody's been seeing it, and I've been racking up these dubs, man. So hopefully, so, man. God willing, I'll get that.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt you've been putting in the work. I went on a box rec and you defended that NABA title 3 times successfully. So I mean, overall, I mean, the winning streak that you're on, I mean, it's just going to keep on growing from there. And on top of that, with the mandatories, with the way they are, you're going to get that shot pretty soon. Now, I do want to ask you, going back to the layoff, you talked about it, 14 months. The last time you fought was December of 2023. As far as all of that right there, talk about your routine during a big layoff, like as of right now with 14 months off, opposed to when you're in fight camp and you got to prepare for the 4 months that you're going to be in that fight camp for a fight. Overall, talk about the differences between the two lifestyles.
I mean, the difference is that, well, there's nothing like training camp, man. For one, once you're in training camp, I'm in dog mode, man. You know what I'm saying? Total tunnel vision, so no distractions. I leave for training camp to go away from the family, so I be locked in. It's a different type of thing, but my off time, man, I just be trying to stay focused, man, keep myself grounded and in shape, so that way, because people fall out of fights all the time, and me being in the top 12 in the WBA, man, anytime can have any day now I can get a call. You know what I'm saying? Say somebody got injured in camp, we need to fill in, and just like that, that's how world champions happen, bro, a lot, so often. So, what I mean, I try to stay in shape for the most part. Meantime, stay in the gym, training my sons, because he trains to turn. He want to fight too, so that's how I try to stay focused, man. Keep myself right. That's about it.
And I like what you said there because recently I did an episode on in a way how Sam Goodman backed out, and then you got somebody like Ye-Jun Kim is coming in on 2 weeks notice against Inoue. Now for me, that's a problem because Naoya Inoue is a bad man. So I mean, for somebody like that, I feel like you got to prepare for more than 2 weeks. But when the opportunity fills itself, and like you said, you're ready to step back into that ring at any time. So when the opportunity does fill yourself, I mean, I feel like you just got to take advantage of it, man. Now, I do want to ask you, are there any fights that you see as of right now that you kind of want? I know back in May of 2024, there was Blair Cobb. I know I saw that on your Instagram as well. But as far as right now, I mean, we're way past May of 2024. As of right now, are there any fights that you're eyeing?
Hold on, first to even get back on that NOA situation. I mean, you can never count somebody out because who knows that guy could been getting ready for a fight and his fight fell out. So or he just dropped that fight to go for the bigger opportunity. He might be in shape. He might be ready. You know what I'm saying? Like my last fight, Chris Howard, he was supposed to fight Broner. You know what I'm saying? And he pulled out, and like 2 weeks, Broner pulled out 2 weeks before the fight. And I took the fight on 2 week notice too, you know what I'm saying? And I came in 2 week notice, and I went in there and got him out of there in the first round. So that happens. Like that opportunity was a big opportunity for me. So they said that guy was going to give Broner hell, and I just proved him that I can walk right through him like it was no problem. Now about the who I want to fight anytime soon. I mean, there's a bunch of guys, man. Eddie Hearn got a lot of guys in the top 10 that's in the WBA. Like they say, like they got this kid Jonah Walker, who they got the number 3 guy, even the number 1 guy for the eliminator, man. The Kazakhstan kid. Griswold, man, he's pretty good, but I'm ready to take one of them guys, man. Hopefully, I can get one of those. I don't see why not. Shit, even Conor Ben, possibly, man. You know what I mean? If he don't have to fight no time soon. So there's some big names, man. I mean, I'm tired of fighting the guys at that level that they deem me at. I'm tired of fighting them guys, man. So I'm ready to fight one of the top, man.
Love the confidence, man. Now, I do want to travel a little bit back in time. I want to travel to when you first started this journey in boxing. Where did your journey to becoming a pro fighter begin? And talk about how you became interested in the sport, whether it was a certain fight that you watched or family or overall a certain fighter. Where did that interest begin and how did you start?
I mean, interest came actually. I started. We was me and my brother got on the wrong bus, and we was talking junk out the window to some kids, and come to find out it was the wrong bus. It made it so we had to get off the bus stop, and we ended up running, getting chased by a bunch of people, and we ran into this dang place called the boxing gym, and so he let us come there for the after school program, and I went there and never looked back, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't turned pro. I was in boxing and 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know what I'm saying? Still running around, hanging in the street, and still training at the same time. So it wasn't until I had my son, my first son. You know what I'm saying? That's when I kind of took it serious, locked in, had my first pro debut, and I won by knockout in the first for the first 20 seconds. It was yeah. So and that's how it started for me, man. You know what I'm saying?
Hold up, that is crazy. So you're telling me that your whole boxing journey started because you guys got chased into a gym?
Absolutely. Look it up,
That
man. It's
is
all public record.
that's straight God's plan right there. You know what I'm saying? Like that is amazing. I don't think I've ever heard a story like that. Like I've heard so many like oh like I was getting into trouble, you know, and I went into this gym, blah 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 blah. I never heard of somebody getting chased into a gym.
Absolutely, man. And they chased us in, and and we ran in there after we hopped the fence. We ran in there hiding on the side of the ring, and you hear this loudmouth dude who was my coach at the time, Ray Rivera, man. He was like, "Yo, y'all come from the side of the ring." Like he had a real loud, like aggressive voice. Me like, man, I'm not going out there. I don't care what nobody said. We're not going. And so he went out there and diffused it, like got them guys off the property, and then we ended up coming out. And he let us stay there, man. And I literally have not left since. You know what I'm saying? Pretty crazy, bro.
It's absolutely a wild story, and it's a story that, like, as you start rising, that story is going to be huge. That's something all these boxing outlets are gonna eat up. So overall, that's an insane story. That's a beautiful story at that too.
Appreciate it.
Now, I do want to fast forward a little bit back in time right now to the present. So currently, you are signed to Don King Promotions. Now, Don King has been around forever. I mean, his fingerprint is all over boxing. Any single mega fight that you could think of, especially back in the olden days, Don King was involved in that. Now, it's no secret that Don King is one of the most controversial, mixed opinions, obviously, about what happened. Obviously, the big ones is with Mike Tyson. And I remember as a kid, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I remember as a kid, my father like told me about Don King, and like as a kid, you don't understand. You're like, oh, screw that guy. But then as you get older, you start realizing no promoter's perfect. There's a lot of guys. There's fighters who don't like Eddie Hearn. There's fighters who don't like Frank Warren. There's guys who don't like Bob Arum. So no promoter is perfect. But since you've been a part of that promotion for a decent amount of times, I believe you're on a five fight winning streak, and all five of those fights have been under Don King Promotions. Since you have been involved in it a lot, talk about your experience with like meeting Don King and overall, not just how is he as a promoter, but how is he as a person.
Don is Don, man. You know what I'm saying? Legendary promoter. I mean, my first fight going on with them, it was like I was filling in for somebody. You know what I'm saying? I came in to lose. They needed an opponent, and I was like a 4-1 underdog for the first fight they had for me, and I ended up walking right through that kid in like 3 rounds, and it was off to the races ever since. So, but then once Don got to meet me, we talked to Don. You know what I'm saying? He's a character, man. I don't know why he loved my last name. He loves it. Wiggins, Wiggins. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's been an experience, man. You know what I'm saying? Some roller coaster. I would love to fight a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And I would want them to put me in the bigger fights, but in due time, man. I'm sure he know what he's doing. He made more world champions than anybody. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that he know what he's doing. And I'm just staying here waiting for my time, man.
And a few years back, like kind a little bit recently, you seen him. He was kind of like we didn't really hear about him too much, and then Adrian Broner signed with him, and then that's when it became a huge thing. Like Adrian signing with him, and then it started building a lot of attention. Next thing you know, the Blair Cobb Adrian Broner fight happened. That built a lot of attention as well. But overall, I mean, again, every promoter is, not every promoter is going to be beloved by everybody, but overall, I do think it's pretty funny how like the way you described him, he is exactly how he portrayed himself on TV, and he is a personality. I mean, the guy could sell sand to an ocean. Let's be real. I mean, overall, you think about some of the greatest fights back in the early days. Don King was a part of that, and anybody could say what they want. They can have their opinions about Don King, but Don King knew how to sell. That's the one thing he knew how to do. And overall, I mean, with the way it's going, your career is doing great right now, and I think it's good that we have somebody on the podcast because when I found out you were part of Don King Promotions, I had to ask you that question because I think it's good that we have, a positive voice speaking on Don King that we usually don't get. Now, I do want to touch upon family a little bit. You talked about how you had your first son and then you took boxing seriously. Now, you also got a son. I'm not sure how many children you have, but you do have a son who is getting into boxing. And I saw the Instagram post of him as like a toddler or a baby, and he was going off. Like he was going off on you, and you were like, I don't think my son, since the day he started, has ever taken it lightly on me. And that's a good thing because if he's not taking it light on his dad, he ain't taking it light on no opponent. So overall, talk about you as a father, how does it feel to see your son following in your footsteps? And overall, how does that make you work harder towards reaching your goals in boxing?
Obviously we had him since I was 17, so he's been with me through the thick of it. So, you know what I'm saying? He's seen the good and he's seen the bad. So I actually preferred him to play football because he's a hell of a football player. Actually, he's small, but he can play. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? He wants to box, and there's no telling him. I ain't no denying. I mean, it ain't no telling him no. He's gonna do it regardless. So I'm just gonna keep him locked in. He's focused, man. He's smarter than I ever was at that age. I mean, he's locked in. He studied more than I do. You know, he's a student of the game, man. And I just feel like me. I'm trying to lead the path. No matter how far I go, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna go 10 times farther than me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the goal. That's the goal. You know what I'm saying? And so he's watching. I know he's watching. So I'll try to make sure he see me training, man. He see me focused. Training can't come. I'm not ducking no wreck. I want him to see me making smart decisions, man. So that way, you know what I'm saying? So that way he know what to do, and he trusts my decision too. So we're gonna work. By the time he turn pro, he'll be ready, man. We're gonna run through everybody.
I love that. It's a great story, obviously, father and son. If you have a long career, he might kind of go into that sport itself. You guys might be in the same sport at the same time, kind of like the Klitschko brothers, except father and son. You know what I'm saying? But overall, the question I have for you is because when I was a kid, my dad showed me Mike Tyson. That was the first fighter I ever got introduced. Obviously, there was Muhammad Ali. I read like a little book on like Joe Louis. But as I started to actually like watch the sport by myself, I became a big fan of Roy Jones Jr. And that to this day is my favorite fighter. So are there ever times where you sit down with your son and you're like, all right, we're gonna watch some film on some old fighters? And if so, who are those fighters that you're showing him?
That's funny you asked, man, because we actually got our own podcast, man. If you ever noticed, it's called The Trigger Response, and when me and him go at it. He got his own opinion on certain fighters, man, and even though I got different opinions, he don't back down. He's his own man, and we go at it because some people he don't like it, some people that do. But we watch film all night. Sometimes we be up till 3, 4 in the morning just watching old fights, and you know what I'm saying, watching his old sparring. There's a bunch of different fighters. Like he loves Shakur, man. Shakur might be his number one guy right now, man. He thinks can't nobody beat Shakur.
I mess with Shakur. I think overall he's such a pure boxer. I think that's a great fighter to study from if you're starting off in the game. Because let's be real, not everybody's gonna be Gervonta Tank Davis or like Deontay Wilder, where they're just gonna lay out everybody. Sometimes you gotta know how to work the inside and out of the boxing ring and everything like that. And Shakur, to me, I mean, he does it better than anybody I've seen. I've said it, he's probably the best defensive fighter in the game, not even just in his division. Now, overall, it's funny that you mentioned your podcast because that was going to be my last question as far as like the general question. And so you and your son have a podcast. I'm going to give you the chance to kind of express your platform on here. But overall, how's that experience been going and what can we expect from that podcast?
Oh man, it's been going good, man. It's just like I mean, it's been a ride for us, bro. You know what I'm saying? We both not real people. Believe it or not, man, I don't like to be on camera. So I'm not good with the interviews and just being on camera and stuff like that. That's why you never hear me talking much at the press conference. But I'm getting better with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting better with it. I'm doing more interviews and stuff because I know it come with the sport. You know what I'm saying? But as of right now, man, it's the dope thing, man. I mean, a lot of people is taking to it. You know what I mean? It's just a father and a son bonding over boxing. And people love the debates, man. How heated it get, we get crazy, man. It's a dope experience, man. and it's only going to get better.
I think you got to give yourself a little more credit than that. You're doing a great interview right now. We're getting a lot of great answers, a lot of heartfelt moments. You know what I'm saying? I think you're doing an amazing job. Now, with all of those general questions being out the way, I do want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with boxing right now. So, first, I do want to mention that you do have a world champion on your resume, Richardson Hitchens, a guy that you fought when you were at 140 pounds. Now, I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you saw the highlights or you watched the full fight, but he recently just captured the IBF championship from Liam Paro. So, first, have you seen that fight? And if so, were there any things that you noticed in that fight that you also noticed in your fight as well, whether that's good and bad?
Yeah, I saw it, man. I watched it, man. I was cheering for him, man. I wanted to see him win because it makes me look good, man. If you ask him to this day, man, I'm still the toughest opponent he fought so far, man. You know what I'm saying? Other than Leon Powell, I think Lemos. I think his name was Lemos because Lemos gave him a hard time, but he was injured also. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I watched that fight. I knew he was going to beat him because he's too technical. Powell didn't have enough tricks in the bag. You know what I'm saying? And I fought Richardson, man, when I don't even know that fighter, man, anymore. I look back at all them old fights, even the ones I won by knockout. I'm like, I don't even. My game sucked so bad, son. I think it's like I'm in my zone now, man. If we were to run it back these days, it would be a whole different fight, man. You know what I'm saying? But he'll tell you to this day, he real enough to tell you that I was one of his toughest opponents, man.
First of all, I love that answer. I love that answer. And hopefully y'all get to run it back. Maybe he goes up to 147. You just never know. Maybe you drop down to 140. I don't know what your plans are there. But overall, what I noticed about Richardson Hitchens, that guy talked so much crap. But you know what? I believed it. There's a lot of guys who talk trash and you just don't believe it. You're like, oh, he's just talking. Richardson Hitchens, I believed it fully. Like he just had way too much confidence, that guy. And I'm saying to myself, like, if he's talking all of this, he's got to back it up. And it wasn't never anything like personal. You know, he never brought like family or nothing like that into it. But he was talking a lot of trash and he was backing it up. And I remember like watching his film. Go back, you got to go back to the prediction episode. I predicted, I was like, Richardson Hitchens is gonna beat him. And Liam Paro is a dog. I mean, no doubt about it. I had him beating Sabriel Matias, but I also noticed like Liam Paro is the upset kid. If you need an upset, he's gonna go do that. He did that against Montana Love, and then he ended up doing it against Matias. But when I saw Richardson Hitchens, I was like, this guy's just, in my opinion, too clean of a boxer. I know the Lemos fight was pretty bad. Now I'm not gonna lie to you. The way I thought he was gonna win that fight similar to the Lemos, a lot of clinching. I thought I was gonna be upset with it. But overall, I mean, after those 4 rounds, Hitchens went off.
Swept him, man. I saw that coming that way, man. He's just a pure boxer, man. I mean, listen, he's one of the guys that I've been in, and I could honestly say, man, that kid made me thinking, because it was like, he don't give you a second he don't give you a second right. I mean, and from the outside looking into the world, it looks boring, you know what I'm saying? It looks basic, but he don't give you no time to think, man. You know, and the jab is always in your face. He's constantly working, man. That's the king. He the king of fundamentals, man. I want to say.
Honestly, I can see it too. Now, overall, I do want to touch up on the division that you're currently in, which is 147 pounds. Now, with the way the 147-pound division is working, I mean, you got some guys in there. Obviously, Jerron Boots Ennis is the big guy. Stanionis, Mario Barrios, you know, and there's some good guys. I mean, there's some good guys in that division. But here's the crazy thing: you start looking at the guys at 140 that are most likely going to climb up because you can tell they're a little too big. Guys like Tiafimo, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. I have a feeling those three are going to bump up to 147 because I just feel like they're too big for 140 and they're going to eventually outgrow that division. So give and take, give it about maybe like a year or two. Overall, as far as big names, I know you mentioned Connor Ben. As far as big names, out of all those names I just mentioned, the ones that are coming up, obviously the champions that are already currently in that 147-pound division, who is the guy that you would want the most? Like if one of the promoters said, here, pick a fight and you're guaranteed this fight and you're going to get it, who would you want?
Barrios, man. I'll take Barrios the demon. I'll break him down, man. He's just so basic, man. You know what I'm saying? Hats off to him. He's a champion, so you can't knock. I'm not gonna knock him. I just feel like, yo, he don't stand a chance with me. I don't think Devin Haney stands a chance with me. Devin Haney sucked, if you ask me. He's the one. I mean, he was world champion undisputed because he's the most focused out of everybody. You know what I'm saying? He don't have all the outside distractions. You know what I'm saying? I can honestly say that he is 100% locked in when it comes to boxing. Well, until lately, I'm guessing, but until then, you know what I'm saying? I'll give all them dudes hell, man, for sure. I don't see none of them beat me, man. If they want to come up, they need somebody to just to stop through and see what's up. I'm him.
I love that. Now, Barrios, I really like that answer because the thing I notice about Barrios is, look, Mexican fighters have a certain way of fighting. He's got a chin, Barrios. I mean, say what you want. I mean, I know Tank knocked him out and everything like that. Don't get me wrong, but he's got a chin. I mean, that fight with Abel Ramos on the Jake Paul Mike Tyson card, that fight was amazing. And it was a fight where Barrios got tested. I mean, me personally, I believe that as far as a draw, he might have walked away like a little bit lucky with that. But overall, I mean, Barrios would make a great. The thing is with Barrios, despite his skills, he's always going to make a great fight. That's the thing. Barrios, I feel like, is always going to be one of those guys that are going to make a great fight because he's going to constantly be in there and he's not going to duck. He's not going to run around the ring. Barrios is going to he's going to go in there and give you a fight. As far as what you said about Devin Haney, now my former co-host, he's no longer my co-host now, but we're still cool. Breezy, he loved Devin Haney. He loved him, but he personally said before that Ryan Garcia fight, he was when they were doing all the chirping and Devin Haney was like, "I'll meet you in the middle of the ring." Breezy was like, "Don't do that." And he doesn't even like Ryan Garcia, but he was like, "Do not do that because if you meet Ryan in that ring, in the middle of that ring, and you fight his fight, he is going to tear him apart." And that's exactly what happened. So now I will say this: Devin Haney, I think he's got a great jab, but at the same time, that jab also got exposed against Ryan Garcia. So I love that you mentioned Devin Haney. I love that you mentioned Mario Barrios. And overall, I think you're in for a treat with 147 pounds because there's a lot of guys that I feel like are going to be in that division that you can overall just build your resume on. Now, last but not least, I do want to ask you, there's the king of that 147-pound division, Jerron Boots Ennis, as of right now, probably the number one welterweight. Your thoughts on him overall and what he's doing?
I don't. Honestly, man, I've been saying it. If you check out all my interviews on YouTube, man, I've been saying I don't see Booster's not invincible, bro. I've been saying it, and I fought multiple Philly fighters, and I'm willing to fight more. I would definitely fight Boost. That's a fight I would definitely take because a lot of people they say, "Oh, I'm crazy, oh, this and that." Man, I know for sure, man. I'll give Boost heaven. His last fight just proved he's not he's not this invincible kid, man. I would love that fight, man. I love that fight, definitely.
Before we get to, because I got a little bit of a tiny fun segment, but before I get to that, first of all, I do want to say I love your confidence because me as like a high schooler, that was my confidence when I would step into a classroom but I didn't have the skills that you did. You clearly have the skills to go and do it, and I love the confidence because I mean, even, I mean, there's going to be people that are thinking you're crazy because of these bigger names, and you're like, I'm going to wipe them out. But at the same time, you are a professional fighter. You got to believe in yourself. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I can hear it in your voice. Like I said, just like with Richardson Hitchens, I can hear it in your voice that you truly believe in yourself. And that's the belief you have to have. Ain't nobody going to come into the sport and go, oh, this guy's going to beat me. I'm going to give him my best shot. It's not like that.
I tell you, listen, man. I tell you like I tell everybody. Yo, if you can get somebody to whoop my ass from now, we ain't talking about what happened in the past. I'm talking about as of right now. This the trigger trade 2.0. If you can get somebody to whoop my ass, oh shut up. You know what I'm saying? Oh shut up. You know what I'm saying? And that's that. I didn't want to fight Chris Howard. I took that last fight, 2 week notice, everything to lose, nothing to gain. You know what I'm saying? And I walk right through him in one round just to show like I can do that on the fly, not let alone with a whole full training camp. I can do it on the fly as well. I'm trying to get these dudes to fight me, but they're making all these excuses. You know what I'm saying? Oh, why? Oh, yeah, he's not nobody. He's this, and that. But he got 5 losses. He got that. But you don't realize I'm racking up them wins and I'm climbing up the ladder. So eventually it's going to be almost impossible to avoid me. So they can keep talking. I'm on there.
And I'm not gonna lie to y'all. For y'all who don't believe him, go check out his box rec. If you go look at that box rec, first of all, I've seen a lot of guys who are undefeated, and I've seen a lot of those guys who are undefeated fighting guys who have almost the same amount of losses as wins. If you go look at this man's box rec, a lot of guys only had one loss before he fight him. A lot of guys were undefeated and he beat him. I mean, the man's on a 5 fight winning streak. Now look, when I post this, I'm gonna make sure I tag him. I'm gonna hopefully like I'm not a big platform, but hopefully one of them's gonna see it and one of them's gonna give you a shot. Because honestly, I'm dying to see it, man. I am.
Tag them all. We be tagging them all. I mean, there's no point in talking about Blair anymore. I don't even want to fight Broner no more because it's like now that Blair beat him, it's like oh, you picking on the weak. So we pass him. I want to beat the man that beat him. So I want to tell Blair to bring his ass on, and so I can. That's the easiest fight to make, and that make most sense and the quickest fight because the same promoter. You know what I'm saying? He want to fight for a world title. He got to pass me. He got to come through me. You know what I'm saying? I don't see why. What's the hold up? Blair know what he doing. You know what I'm saying? Blair know what he doing. But it's all good. It is definitely all good. But keep tagging them all. We'll see what's up, man.
I do want to get to a little bit of a fun segment in this episode. So I had previous interviews before the Puncher's Point. Um, but this was always a segment that I really like because we know you as the boxer now, but we don't know you too much as the person. So I'm gonna ask you some quick fun questions. And on top of that, they're called rapid fire questions. I'm gonna time you on them. Now the last guy, I believe he hit around 56.36 seconds. That was the final time. Now it's up to you to beat that. So I'm going to ask you these questions. Just answer them fully, honestly, as you possibly can. And overall, I think we're going to have a good, fun time with it. Let me get the stopwatch going on because I actually do want to time it a little bit. All right. First, whenever you're ready, we can start it. Favorite food?
Seafood.
My favorite TV show or movie of all time?
Boys in the Hood.
Dream vacation spot?
Dubai.
Okay. Favorite type of music or genre?
I listen to all music.
All right. If you were an animal, what would you be and why?
Lion, because I'm a beast.
All right. If you had to pick a superpower, what would you pick?
I don't know. Never get old.
I love that. As far as hobbies, when you're not boxing or you're not fighting, what are some of the favorite hobbies that you like to have?
Plumbing, electrical work, man. I like to do that stuff, man. I'm good with my hands, man.
Who was your role model and why?
I don't know. I don't. I don't really have one, man. Honestly, I don't. Nah, none.
All right. So the time is 54 seconds and 54 seconds point 45. You barely beat it. And overall, I mean that seemed faster than what I originally thought. I mean, I thought it was gonna be around like 30 seconds. Nah. Overall, you get some thoughtful answers. You really don't have no role model, like even God, like
Granted, I've been on my own spiritual journey, but and like when I just been baptized and all that stuff. But role model as well, but not really. Nobody I've been looking up to so far, man. I've been trying to set. I'm just focused on me being a role model, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time to have one because I got to be with my study. Like I don't study like people's stories, like like Will Smith stories, motivational speech, and I listen to all that stuff. But role model I don't have one yet.
I respect that. Now, last but not least, before we wrap up this episode, if you had to give one message, one piece of advice, this is your chance to be that role model. If you had to give one piece of advice, one message, what would it be to all the people listening or watching right now?
Don't judge a book by a cover, man. You know what I'm saying? Give everybody a shot, man. That's it, man. Because you never know. You never know what you're looking at, man. I'm the proof of the pudding, man.
And I mean, look, what you said, he lives it too. Because when I reached out to him, he was a little bit skeptical. He was like, "Oh, I don't know." But I was like, "Hey, man, like, I just want to give you an interview." I said, "If you want to see some of the old interviews I have," he was like, "Nah, man, I trust you. Give me a shot." And for that, I appreciate it, Tresean.
Yeah, man. Oh, no doubt, man. I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. We on YouTube, all podcast platforms, all social media platforms. I can name them all: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, Discord, Reddit, you name it, we got it. So overall, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. Last but not least, also tune in to Tresean Wiggins' podcast. What's that called again, man?
Sugar Response, man. Sugar Response podcast.
And with that being said, make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What's up, y'all? If y'all love this episode, make sure y'all subscribe. You hit that notifications button and also take a look at the recent episodes that we made before this. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.